Millions of Americans took to the street to protest Donald Trump and his assault on our constitutional republic and on our rule of law. Compare that to the couple of hundred, maybe, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000, whatever, that showed up in Washington for this cosplay, manufactured, non-patriotic Tiananmen Square moment for Donald Trump. Movements like No King's Day are important. There have been 4 times as many street protests and resistance protests against this Trump administration in the first 200 days than the entire first term combined. And that means participatory democracy. I got it out. Participatory democracy is on the march and is on the rise and is really important. It's the thing you can do, not just voting, that matters right now. And we cover it all and how it impacts the United States Supreme Court and their view of the world in their decision-making. One place, Legal AF, in a show called Unprecedented. Take a listen. So the other thing I want to turn to before we wrap up today is the No King's Day Day of Defiance. Couldn't come at a better time. They had this in the works. 5051 organization had this in the works for quite some time. Very successful in the Law Day protest on May 1st, which took on a whole nother, when you have a lawless rogue president, Law Day takes on a whole nother, another look. And so they could not have anticipated that the world would be on fire, mainly because of Donald Trump at the time of they just were looking to counter program the Flag Day, happy birthday to me, waste of taxpayer money for a fascist military display down Pennsylvania Avenue, which I'm sure is going to attract a combination of MAGA Civil War reenactors and people that like to go watch the Blue Angels and air shows. No attack on people that like to do that, but it's going to be like these military buffs, right? And
totally. I mean, can we just say that maybe this was his way of making sure Melania spent his birthday with him?
Yeah, they already got booed at Les Mis, so let's see what happens. But so they could not have, the organizers could not have known that Donald Trump would attack a state in advance of, and that would be burning in the background. I mean that not literally, of everything we're talking about, and that has resulted. Donald Trump has gotten what he wanted because he's getting obedience in advance. There are purplish states like Missouri and in red states like Florida, where the governors are saying, we're rolling out our National Guard, because they don't want to get commandeered. And they're like, we're going to roll them out. Well, why, Governor from Missouri? Why are you doing that? Do you have any credible threats? No, but we don't want anything to tip over. So we're going to put boots on the ground. Great. So now, in order for me to do First Amendment expression, which is completely protected and actually favored by our founding fathers as the foundation of our democracy, I have to make my way through a gauntlet of my neighbors who are wearing battle fatigues, riot helmets, boots, and an M16, and all sorts of non-lethal canisters that they can fire at me or my family when we're on the street on Saturday, on today. So what impact do you think the protests, the 1,800 around the world, 1,500 in the U.S., you're going to go to one, I'm sure, in California. I've tracked down my couple in Miami area. What impact do you think that has? And then talk about why we need to be on the streets, and we'll wrap up our show that way.
And there is a website, nokings.org, where you put in your zip code and you find the protests near you. And they're most of the day. So even if you're watching this and you don't have a plan yet, I think you can get a plan and still show up. And we need the numbers, right? We need the numbers. And I think it actually does make a difference. I mean, the Supreme Court are real people. They watch TV too. And there is going to be this juxtaposition between Trump's vanity parade, right? Where you already see soldiers marching. It looks like some footage out of North Korea at the same time that he's sending Marines into Los Angeles, right? It's not some theoretical situation. Like he's embracing, right, this authoritarian look and acting like an authoritarian. At the same time as you see people rising up and showing up in the streets and, exercising the First Amendment. And I think the more people that do that, the Supreme Court takes note too. And even if they're inclined to give Trump a win, like I said, every time Trump says something bad or does something bad, it's a win for those of us who care about democracy, because the more outlandish he acts, the less that the Supreme Court, who may be inclined to have this executive unitary theory, don't trust him with it. So I think numbers tomorrow are very important. I think it sends a message to the Supreme Court as much as anyone else that this is not the kind of democracy we want to live in.
And we'll have to see if they respond to this. I mean, they're outdoor. Well, they're mainly on vacation now. They're not even in DC. Most of them have already left. So I don't expect to see any of the Supreme Court. Maybe Sam Alito with his wife with the upside down flags. Maybe she'll be in the grandstands of. I'm sure he's invited them all.
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
true.
Sure
That's actually a good point.
He's invited them all.
Yeah.
And we'll see what loser. I mean, if Clarence Thomas shows up,
oh my gosh,
or Alito,
right,
or any of them, I'll be livid, and we'll have to take to the airwaves at that time. But look, you often see Supreme Court justices, usually to justify a depraved decision to overturn some precedent. They'll say, "Well, the public, 14 million. There's 14 million AR-15s with the public. Public seems to be upset. Take away their guns. Public, or on abortion, there's mixed signals out there. Or, on reproductive rights. So they are moved. It may not appear so. Some more than others by what they perceive to be the public reaction to a policy or to a law or to a ruling. And so it matters. I mean, it's not just, I tell people, protests like this, the peaceful protests that are being organized now, isn't like, when you're frustrated in an elevator and you can't get the door to shut, you just hit the button that's not attached to anything, right? It's not that. It's not just cathartic to get out. Yes, it's fun to go meet like-minded people and be on the street and feel like you're contributing, just like joining Legal AF or watching Unprecedented or being with us here, the Mightiest Mighty, the Legal AFers is part of a community that you may not have had before. It's a safe space for you to express your First Amendment expression and talk truth to each other, right? That's why we're here. But there is an impact. It's not just to make yourself feel better, which I like. That's always good. But it does, as you said, the numbers matter, and that's why they were so smart to counter-program this and not do it in Washington. Because I don't know what would show. Totally. I'm sure they'd get a good turnout. But look, then they got to get the permits pulled. They're not going to be in Pennsylvania Avenue. They're going to be in some other weird place. Like, why do that? Just take it to Donald Trump around the country. And the places that matter for me, yes, are the blue states. But I want to see the turnout in some red states and some places that signal that people have sort of had enough. My sense is, based on the polling, the numbers, the reaction, that people are chomping at the bit to get ready to vote. And if the voting was today or anywhere in the first 200 days, and like we could recall Donald Trump, I think we would. I think Donald, the thing that he never wants to admit, because he keeps talking about his mandate and his landslide, is that if there were if this was like UK and we had a no confidence vote, I think he would lose, and I think he knows he would lose at this moment. I think he'd be recalled, and I think he'd be done. The government would fall. We don't have that kind of government, so we got to bide our time until the midterms, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He realizes his unpopularity. And I think your point is so right about the Supreme Court really paying attention because, we've talked about before, they don't have an enforceable power. Their power comes from the buy-in of the people. They can't be too far ahead of it. And that is something that Chief Justice Roberts in particular is cognizant of. They can't get too far away. So I do think the more people on the streets, it does rein them in, and we need them reined in because this is really important. And whether or not Trump can federalize the National Guard is, crucial. We have, unfortunately, we can't get rid of him right away, and we can't have months and months of him. Here in Los Angeles, let me just say really fast, I know we're going to sign off. It does feel like an invasion. It feels like a Trump invasion. There was these, you saw on the 405 freeway, white van after white van after white van with, I don't know if they were Marines or National Guard sitting there with their camouflage and their huge guns, just driving off the freeway. We didn't ask for them here. It feels like an invasion. It doesn't feel as safe because Trump is not cognitively able, I don't think, to even make safe decisions at this point. And they're out there pushing to the floor our senators. We need the Supreme Court to stand up for us. But we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to show up. We have to tell people this is not okay. Maybe rattle some Republicans in red states, like you said, and hopefully try to change this. That's getting pretty bad pretty fast here.
Welcome back. You are on Legal AF. Maybe you wandered in here. Maybe the algorithm sent you here. Maybe you've been here since day one. Maybe you knew about Legal AF, the podcast, from the last 5 years, and then you were super excited when there was a whole channel devoted to what you love. The intersection of law and politics and clear, hopefully entertaining at times, explanations of what the heck is going on at the Supreme Court. We call it Unprecedented, a show with Dina Doll and me we do every week, only here exclusively on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Show us that you vote for us. Hit the free subscribe button. That is a way to do it. Become part of our movement. Let us join your movement all together now. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.